Hi, this is Rick from For Community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. A Happy New Year. I had a great time this past 2 weeks celebrating Christmas and New Year's, and I trust that you did too. Really hope you did. In between the last video and this video, I had a birthday, and on every single one of my birthdays, it's a board game marathon with my family, my wife and my kids, and I love it. It is one of the highlights that I have throughout the entire year. I love spending the whole day with all of my family, and we just get together and play board games, and I love it. And one of my daughters even baked me a pie, a pecan pie, and it was delicious. What about you? What's a great memory that you have over these last 2 weeks since I've listed the video, since we've met together on Zoom, since the last time we met? If you've got some kind of great memory, you've got something to share, please pause the video and share it with whoever you're watching with, and also bring that memory, that thing that's on your mind, to the next Zoom meeting and share it with us. We can all reconnect. Just before I continue any further, I've got an announcement to make. On the last Sunday of every month, what we're going to be doing in For Community is we're going to do an Old Testament survey. So this month, at the last Sunday of this month, we're going to begin with Genesis. It's just a survey. I'm not going to be picking out a large portion of passage to read. I'm going to treat the book as a whole. So if you want to take part in that, would you please read through Genesis or skim through Genesis this month to get ready for the last week of Genesis? Join us on Zoom so that on Sunday we'll have a bunch to talk about. Or, just log into the video and check out the survey. Totally up to you. This particular video is based on my interpretation of Proverbs chapter 3, verses 27 to 35. As we look into this new year, this is a good passage to prep us for a good end-of-year experience. Proverbs chapter 3, 27 to 35. Do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it's in your power to help. If you can help your neighbor now, don't say come back tomorrow and then I'll help you. Don't plot harm against your neighbor, for those who live nearby trust you. Don't pick a fight without reason when no one has done you harm. Don't envy violent people or copy their ways. Such wicked people are detestable to the Lord, but he offers his friendship to the godly. I'm going to skip ahead a little. The wise inherit honor, but fools are put to shame. Here's the direction I'm heading in this video. Something to help us plan through this year so at the end of the year, we'll have an ending of the year that's better than the beginning of the year. That's my hope for you anyways. Create the culture you want to experience. Your neighborhood is a scary place if that's what you make it to be. Your neighborhood is a peaceful place if that's what you make it to be. Our interactions with the people in closest proximity to us sets up how we experience life wherever we happen to be living. It creates our microcultures. It creates a world around us that's nice to live in, or scary to live in, or very lonely to live in. This passage shows us 3 choices that we have as we consider how we will interact with the people who are in closest proximity to us, namely our neighbors, our drive-through order takers at Tim Hortons or wherever you happen to frequent, Walmart cashiers, co-workers, even the people we frequently share the road with while we're commuting, and we all recognize each other's cars and how we drive. We're going to look at 3 choices around how we interact with others and what those choices will do to the life that we experience every day. Before I get into those 3 choices, matter of context, look at this verse with me. The wise inherit honor, but fools are put to shame. Here's a verse that really jumped out to me while I was looking at Proverbs, and I think it jumped out to me because I was wondering what's a good text as we head into 2024, since it's the first time that we're meeting for this year. It focuses on outcome, which generally is what we focus on at the beginning of the year. We look to the end of the year and say, what do we want to accomplish this year? Well, that's what this text is doing. What do we want to accomplish in our social context, in how we treat the people around us? What do we want the outcome to be as we consider our engagement with others? Now, this is the same idea as the phrase, you sow what you reap, or do to others as you want them to do to you. Same principle is underneath this passage. The verse creates a picture of what our life will look like as we consider the three choices that this passage shows us. We can choose agency, or we can choose foolishness, or we can choose a value-driven life. So let's look at the first choice, the choice of agency. The text says, "Do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it's in your power to help them. If you can help your neighbor now, don't say, 'Come back tomorrow and then I'll help you.'" Here's a little pet peeve of mine. I really don't like how we in Ontario have sacrificed the word agency in place of the word advocacy. In Ontario, we are strong advocates of almost anything under the sun. We understand what self-advocacy is, and we understand what advocating for others is. But generally what that means is we are in a place of advocacy. It means that we're telling other people to do the help. So if it's self-advocacy, I'm reaching out to somebody else so they can help me. If it's others advocacy, I'm advocating on behalf of some kind of group of people that somebody else would go and help that group of people. It's really low agency. Agency is this recognition that I actually have the power to change my experience. I have the power to change others' experience as well. I have agency to give myself a better experience and to give others a better experience. And that's what this passage, this one verse that I'm pointing out here, that's what this is. It's the choice of agency. I have the choice to reach out to people in a way that's going to make their life better. And in so doing, I also make my life better as I experience a better life with them. I've got this cool thing happening to me right now in the drive-thrus that I frequent, namely Tim Hortons. As I go through the drive-thru at Tim Hortons, this younger guy in me comes awake, because I remember what it was like when I was just starting out, just left high school. The only job that I could find was like this minimum wage job at just a low-end working kind of thing. For me, it was Canadian Tire pit stop changing oil in vehicles. And I know how tough it was to try to buy groceries and pay for rent on a minimum wage paying job, and also try to put myself through school. That was really intense. And so when I go through the drive-thru at Tim Hortons and other places that are kind of minimum wage, I tend to amp up my personality a little bit to give them a good experience of me. And so I'll often say to whoever's taking my order, "You rock, you're awesome. Thank you so much. You have made my day better." And so my kids get a big kick out of this, and my wife gets and anybody who's in the van with me gets a big kick out of this now, because as I go through the Tim Hortons drive-thru, I will say to people, "You rock." And so they now call me Dwayne Johnson, not because I look anything like him, not because I'm anywhere near as muscular, but because I say, "You rock." And Dwayne Johnson is The Rock. And so it's a big kick. So we're making each other's lives just a little better. We are increasing the experience in our culture. Here's the principle. We experience the culture we create. You and I have the choice to exercise our agency, to give others a good experience of us. And as we give others a good experience of us, what happens is that generally becomes reciprocal. Because the principle of communication, one of the principles of communication is you should expect to get what you give. And so if you give gentleness, you should expect gentleness back. And so as you go on about your day and as you interact with the people in closest proximity to you, you and I, we have a choice to choose agency. In our agency, let's exercise our ability to give others a good experience of ourselves. And that is very likely to come back onto us, so that we begin to experience the world as a safe and an enjoyable place to be in. Now, of course, you walk around with a scowl on your face, head is down, trying not to interact with anybody else because you're afraid of the world. Well, the world's going to stay a scary place because you're not creating that people network around you to make the world better. Interact with people in a way that gives them a great experience of you, and you then are creating a microculture that you're going to enjoy at the end of the year. The next choice we have is the choice of foolishness. The text says, don't plot harm against your neighbor, for those who live nearby trust you. Don't pick a fight without reason when no one has done you harm. Now, I call this a choice of foolishness because this is really at the heart of the fool in the book of Proverbs. It's someone who doesn't see any authority outside of themselves. It's someone who sees themselves as the largest contributor of control in their life for them and also over others as well. They consider themselves the highest authority, the greatest source of judgment, the condemners even. This is a path of foolishness. It doesn't recognize that there is a God. It doesn't recognize that there's a power above ourselves, an authority above ourselves, and we can be held accountable. It's really a foolish choice for us to go around acting in hostility toward others, acting in any kind of negative sense toward others, as though we're not going to be held accountable for that kind of thing. Whenever we think that we are the greatest power and that we will not be held accountable, that will lead us to a worse experience at the end of the year if that's how we treat people. We experience the culture that we create. If you give others the experience of you as a grumpy, negative, hostile person, then the world that you live in is going to feel pretty cold, pretty standoffish, like people don't want to talk to you, like you're all alone, like it's really hostile. That's because that's a culture that you are creating, because that's how you are interacting with the people around you. Here's the final choice, the choice to pursue values. The text says, don't envy violent people or copy their ways. Such wicked people are detestable to the Lord, but he offers his friendship to the godly. Contentment isn't a journey. It's a life of fulfillment and peace. My ideas here are really coming out of my practice and what I see from clients who come to me and ask me for help. I see many people who have been driven to follow their career or follow money and follow money in great amounts as well. Unfortunately, as they're following their monetary dreams, they're leaving behind their values. And as they go through their life, they reach a certain age, sometime around their 50s, and they realize, I don't have a family anymore. We're just we live together, but we don't get along. I haven't really been home. We don't really have a great relationship. Marriage is on the rocks. Kids don't really know who I am. I don't know who they are. It becomes a mess. The more that we don't pursue our values, the more we sacrifice our values to pursue things that are other than our values, what happens is the older we get, we live a life of dissonance. We live a life where I don't know who I am. I don't know the direction that I'm going. My feelings are muted. My GPS, my natural GPS, it tells me I'm on the right track. That's muted. My feelings are turned off. I barely feel emotions because I've had to turn those off. Somebody might say I've had to turn those off in order to pursue, maybe we would say, the almighty dollar. You can't serve both God and mammon, the Bible tells us occasionally. Sacrificing values is not the kind of life that you want to live because it's not going to get you where you really want to go. You're not going to appreciate what's at the end of that journey. However, living a life in pursuit of your values, money can come with the pursuit of values. It just means that you're prioritizing your values. You're not losing anything in order to increase your income and also follow your career. You can have both, but it starts with values first. Contentment is not a journey. Contentment is a choice. It's living a life of fulfillment. It's living a life of peace. It's choosing to be content with what you have and clear about what you value as you follow Jesus. This is a life of pursuing values. And this is really where I want to end the video and give you a takeaway for all this. What can we do as we look at this passage here? What can we do to try our best to make sure that the end of this year is better than the beginning of this year? I think that this passage in Proverbs helps us to understand that. Would you please consider choosing to be content with what you have, becoming clear about what you value, and then would you please follow Jesus? Because at the end of the day, Jesus really is in this. He really wants us to give each other a great experience of ourselves so that we create these microcultures around us of peace and safety, contentment, joy, happiness, fulfillment. He wants us to create that better world for ourselves and for our neighbors. I mean, in the two greatest commandments, love God and love your neighbor as yourself. We have ownership around this idea that we create the culture that we live in. Now, we don't create North American culture all by ourselves, but we have a lot of agency around the microcultures that we live in. So would you please choose to be content with what you have, be clear about what you value, and follow Jesus. Okay, that's it from me to you for now. Would you please like? Would you please share? Would you please subscribe? Would you please also ask for the link? We meet 2 times on Sunday, 1:30 and 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock is just for guys. Also remember, if you wanted to take part in the discussions around the Old Testament survey that we'll be doing throughout this year, at least I think if it takes hold, that's what we'll be doing, starting with Genesis on the last Sunday of this month. So do your best to read or skim Genesis this month so that you're ready for that Old Testament survey at the last Sunday of this month, okay? For community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. I'll see you next time.